Larry Moore, weeknights at 6 and 10 on KMBC 9 News.
From around the world, a celebration of the millennium. This is ABC 2000. With Peter Jennings at ABC 2000 headquarters in Times Square, Barbara Walters in Paris, Diane Sawyer in New York, Charles Gibson in London, Cokie Roberts in Rome, Elizabeth Vargas in Sydney, Connie Chung in Las Vegas, Deborah Roberts in Orlando, Jack Ford in Times Square, Carol Simpson in Chicago, and Sam Donaldson at the Y2K Command Center in Washington. With our correspondents spanning the globe in Shanghai, Bombay, Bethlehem, Moscow, Havana, Rio de Janeiro, and across the U.S., reports from Miami, New Orleans, Tucson, Los Angeles, San Francisco. And in New York, Dick Clark counting down to the new year in Times Square. Special Millennium performances by Billy Joel, Elton John, Enrique Iglesias, Faith Hill, NSYNC, Fish, The Bee Gees, Aerosmith, Blondie, Bonnie Raitt, Neil Diamond, Harry Connick Jr., Kenny G, Ray Charles, The Eagles, Barry Manilow, David Blaine, and Barbra Streisand. Now, from ABC 2000 headquarters at Times Square in New York, Peter Jennings.
Good morning and welcome to the very edge of the 21st century. Good morning, you hearty souls, I should say. It's a little before 5 a.m. here in Times Square. Earlier you are. We begin, as you can imagine, with a tremendous sense of awe from our studio overlooking Times Square here. Awe at what is behind us as well as what is ahead of us. So for the next 24 hours, we're going to try to share this extraordinary occasion with much of the rest of the world. And we're going to begin this morning in just a second by going to Tonga and to Kiribati out in the Pacific, where the first midnight of the 21st century has actually come to be in just seconds. But we're going to start with some news, because just a short while ago in Russia, Boris Yeltsin, the president, said he had decided he was going to resign earlier than he had intended. So we're going to go straight to Moscow as our first port of call, and ABC's Morton Dean. Morton, what's been going on?
Well, a lot has been going on, Peter. Boris Yeltsin stole the headline right out of the old and new millennium. In a surprise this morning in a taped address to the country, he said he had signed papers transferring power to his chosen successor, Vladimir Putin, the prime minister. And Mr. Yeltsin is stepping down. Putin will become acting president for 3 months. And then national elections have been scheduled by Mr. Yeltsin and his chosen successor for March the 26th. Quite a story.
Was there any details about him? Did he look unusual? Did it look like it had been planned? Did it look spontaneous?
Well, it obviously had been planned for a while, but the news did not leak out here or obviously anywhere else. Putin is not widely known in this country nor around the world. Of course, he was a member of the KGB for many years and was head of the KGB's principal successor agency, the FSB, for a while. And he's only been prime minister for 4.5 months, and we're told that both Yeltsin and Putin are behind me in one of the buildings there in the Kremlin, meeting even as we speak, Peter.
And let me just see if I can get it absolutely straight. This is a resignation, or this is him saying he intends to resign earlier than he'd planned?
Well, he says he's out of power as of today. It's a resignation.
Okay, thanks very much, Mort. We'll come back to you as the day goes on. Of course, Russian law actually requires presidential elections within 90 days of a resignation, so that country's going to be on the edge of turmoil for some considerable period of time, further on the edge of turmoil. We have on the phone with us Michael McFall from the Carnegie Endowment of International Peace, who watches Russia very closely. Professor McFall, what do you think of what you hear this morning?
Well, it's stunning, of course. Very true to form for Boris Yeltsin, of course, to steal the headlines on the millennium. I think it's not surprising, though, if you think about the politics behind it. His prime minister, Mr. Putin, right now has a 70% approval rating. 55% of the population have said they'd vote for him on a first round. And Yeltsin calculated it's better to go for it now than to wait 6 months when those ratings might fall.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll talk to you, I hope, a little later throughout the day. Michael McFall from the Carnegie Endowment. Just a couple of other headlines before we get right down to Millennium News. India says it has reached an agreement to bring that hijacking in southern Afghanistan to an end. That jetliner is still on the ground at Kandahar, but the hijackers have reportedly agreed to release their 156 hostages in exchange for 3 Muslim militants who are in Indian custody. So everybody's holding their breath on the subcontinent this morning, and we'll be at India later in the day, where they too will celebrate the millennium. But let us now go and have a look at Kiribati in the Pacific, the closest island this morning to the international date line, the first celebration out there on the beaches of this island with so much deep commitment in American history. Let's listen. It says Kiribati on your screen, but it's actually pronounced Kiribati. These are actually the Gilbert Islands in the Pacific, well known to many Americans who fought there during World War II, the capital, Tarawa, where more than 1,000 Americans were killed and 2,200 wounded as American forces made their way across the Pacific towards the Japanese home islands. Kiribati, as you can see, moved the international date line about a year ago to include all of the islands in the island nation. But something they must clearly have had in mind was the millennium, because they call the small island on which this ceremony this morning is taking place Millennium Island. It's hard to emphasize how hard the people in these Pacific Islands have worked, whereas they were going to be the first to pass into the 21st century, the first midnight, and ultimately the first dawn. And as I said, this is a place with a tremendous place in American history. In 1943, the Japanese never believed that 1 million men could take this tiny collection of atolls, about 2/3 of the way across the Pacific. And the battle went on for 4 days, and as we said, more than 1,000 Americans were killed and 2,200 were wounded. The Japanese had 5,000 men on the island, and when the battle was over, only 17 had survived. Today, they look at the new century in a moment of peace. On your left, you see Tonga, 2/3 of the way from Hawaii to New Zealand. They, too, are in this first zone. This is sometimes regarded as the most Christian nation in the world, so the Alleluia chorus will sound familiar.